Here is your first look at the ASUS ROG Ally. And para sa mga nagtatanong kung darating to sa Pilipinas, yes, very soon. But before we get started, I know you've got some questions. What will Gian talk about in this video? Is this a review? May presyo na ba? Let me briefly answer these questions for you. I will give you a quick unboxing, tell you my first impressions, and no, this is not yet my full review. Also, yes, this is coming out in the Philippines as I mentioned earlier, but I cannot say anything yet about its SRP because ASUS Philippines hasn't told me anything yet about it at the time of the production of this video. Unboxing time muna tayo. There is, of course, the box. Inside, you'll find the ASUS ROG Ally, which comes with 512 gig of storage, AMD APU Z1 Extreme, and 16 gigs of RAM. There's also a charger, which is surprisingly bigger than I expected. Now, just to give you a quick comparison, here's the charger of the ROG Ally, and here's a 65 watts charger from another brand, which is one of the chargers that I'm using also for my laptop, smartphone, and also the Steam Deck. Now, as you can see right here, the device sports a 7-inch screen, which bears a striking resemblance to the Steam Deck in terms of form factor. However, the Ally's considerably lighter weight sets it apart from its competition. It's a little smaller than the Steam Deck 2, just in case you guys would want to compare side by side. The ROG Ally is among the most ergonomic PC gaming handhelds I've seen. Its design easily surpasses the weighty Steam Deck in terms of comfort and ease of use. Obviously, ASUS has truly put a lot of thought into making the Ally a super user-friendly device, with the weight distribution and overall design allowing for extended gaming sessions without the burden of a bulky device. Now, I'm quite missing the trackpads found on the Steam Deck though, which is quite a bummer. I am also still not 100% sold to its D-pads because it lacks tactility, and that's probably because I'm used to the Steam Deck's more protruded D-pad design. Now, in case you're wondering, why did they even design it this way? ASUS said that they designed this to reduce friction when performing circular movements. That might actually be true, but that's something I would probably learn and get used to moving forward. The shoulder buttons feel good, not great, but the analog trigger buttons, both left and right, are amazing. I kind of can compare it to the ones from the Aya Neo Air Pro, and its placement comes quite natural to how I usually place my hands on the handheld console. They have textures too, unlike the ones on the Aya Neo. Now, the face buttons of the ROG Ally are perfect. They're very comfortable to use and responsive to touch thanks to its flat dome design. They are the ones that are perfectly suited for fast-paced actions like fighting games and action adventures. Now, they don't light up, thankfully, but it has these purple, blue, green gradient colors to break the symmetry of the black and white. It also has these asymmetrical joysticks, which is similar to how controllers with Xbox layout look like. Now, as pointed out in our first impressions article, they are not Hall sensors. I can confirm that, and I really hope that ASUS would later announce that they can be hot swapped. Now, sana rin magkaroon ng third-party support ng accessories and parts. Now, speaking of accessories, I'm quite surprised that the ROG Ally is actually quite compatible with the one from JSOX. Now, this is not actually for the Steam Deck, but it sits perfectly on the dock, with a bit of space there for the display. And although hindi ganun kahaba yung kanyang cable, you can actually connect it on the Type-C port at the top. And thankfully, the Type-C port on the ROG Ally is at the top. You can also find 4 extra buttons. You have the usual menu and view buttons, plus ASUS added an access button for Armory Crate and another one for Command Center. And lastly, there are 2 rear macro buttons which can be programmed via Armory Crate. Right now, the rear buttons, for the left rear button, if you press and hold it and press up, it will bring out the keyboard, and if you press M1 again, or the macro key down, it will trigger Control Alt Delete. And if you press trigger and then left on the D-pad, it kind of brings it back to the desktop. There's quite a lot of configurations and shortcuts that they have already set up at default, and it's up to you if you want to change them or not. Now, unlike the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally only comes in white colorway. I bet ASUS will come out with a special black edition variant very soon. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. I don't want to keep your hopes up, but this white original version actually looks good. No? Feeling ko medyo magiging dumihin lang siya in the future, but that depends on how you actually use your device. Now, as mentioned earlier, the ROG Ally has a 7-inch display with up to 120Hz refresh rate. Unfortunately, it is not an OLED display because according to ASUS, there's still no 7-inch OLED that can go as high as 120Hz in the market at the time of the production of this device. I really think that it's still a good decision by ASUS, especially if they want to keep the price of this device competitively to the Steam Deck and other handheld devices. I will have a deep dive of its display on my full review and my upcoming videos very soon. However, for those of you who are interested to know about my first impressions about the display, it's amazing, it's bright, and it displays colors very well. I've got a display benchmark device here, so I should be able to verify ASUS claims about how good its display in my full review. Perhaps those who are very much acquainted with the handheld gaming industry are very much interested to know the specs of the APU on this device. Now, to confirm the leaks, this is running on the custom AMD APU Z1 Extreme. This has 8 cores, 16 threads, and 8.6 teraflops based on Zen 4 architecture. It has 16 GB of RAM and 512 GB of storage. There is also a micro SD card reader, so if you've got one with games, emulator files, you can easily use them on this device. I have a link to our recommended micro SD cards, which you can find in the description box below. And for those of you who are more experimental with their devices, you can just simply take out the screws on the ROG Ally and replace the M.2 2230 SSD on this one. I suggest though that you back it up or clone it if you want to, and invest maybe on a bigger SSD, like maybe a 2 TB SSD. Now, the ASUS ROG Ally also has another variant with a Z1 APU, not Z1 Extreme. So it's a lower variant with 6 cores, 12 threads with 2.9 teraflops, also based on Zen 4 architecture. The ASUS ROG Ally is running on Windows 11, but the device is surprisingly optimized enough for it. It also has a customized version of Armoury Crate, which comes as a standard app to all ASUS ROG laptops and phones like the Flow Z13, which we reviewed in the past, and the ROG Phone 7 Ultimate, which we also recently featured on this channel. Now, for the most part of using the ASUS ROG Ally, the Armoury Crate is going to be your most used application, apart from, of course, Epic, Steam, and maybe Ubisoft, your Uplay. But as I mentioned earlier, there is even a dedicated button for it, yung Armoury Crate, which comes very handy, especially for changing TDP settings or power settings. Now, just like the Steam Deck, you can easily press the command center, so you can easily change the settings on the fly. Now, if you're familiar with Aya Space on the Aya Neo devices, the new ones, the Armoury Crate is I wouldn't say it's a much refined version, but it's more intuitive. It looks better, but it's not perfect in any means. And I believe it's one of the challenges that ASUS should be able to overcome, and that is actually refining it more and make it more useful for end consumers or end users. Now, this may come as a surprise, but this one has 2 fans, but I barely hear the fans even when I'm playing Miles Morales or Street Fighter at 20 to 25 watts TDP. It's surprisingly cool too, hovering around 60 to 65 degrees Celsius at maximum temperature when playing AAA titles in performance operating mode. Again, coming from the Aya Neo Air Pro and also the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally is on a whole new level. And for those of you who are into sniffing vents on their gaming devices, you'll be pleased with the smell of the ROG Ally at first boot. This gaming handheld is also loud, no? And if you compare this with the Steam Deck or the Ion Neo Air Pro, the ROG Ally will come out as the clear winner. This is of course all thanks to its dual speakers with dual Atmos and smart amp or smart amplifier. No? There seems to be a design trick here that they have implemented on the device, which internally amplifies the sound coming from the speakers. And of course, before I forget, I showed this earlier, but the ROG Ally comes with a 65 watts charger that can charge it from 0 to 50% in less than 30 minutes. I tried this myself and it checks out. Battery life, in my experience, however, is decent, but I don't think that it's fair to give my initial or final thoughts rather about its performance at this early stage. Now, honestly, I'm barely scratching the surface here and I really have so much to say. As in, I also have a few questions in mind that I believe only ASUS Philippines can answer. For now, I hope this video answered some of your questions more than it raises more questions. And if that's the case, do let me know in the comment section below. Please ask questions. Let me know your thoughts about this one. We're not gonna answer the question if this is indeed a Steam Deck killer, but one thing is for sure, it is definitely better than the Steam Deck in terms of specifications. But end of the day, there's a lot of things that need to be considered, like after sales, the actual SRP price here in the Philippines. Again, number 3, which is again after sales. Again, I have to stress that out. Those things can actually make or break the success of this product. Valve has actually laid down the foundation of their after sales and they've been doing great so far, honestly. Even if here in the Philippines, it is not technically officially available because it's only available in some countries here in Asia. You can easily just buy parts via Lazada. You broke your trigger buttons or your shoulder buttons, buy via Lazada. Maybe you broke your screen, the screen is not anymore working, buy from iFixit. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I hope that ASUS would do the same thing with this device. I'm gonna have a full review of this one. We also requested ASUS Philippines to lend us their Z1 version for us to be able to compare, and we've got lots of contents prepared for you regarding the ASUS ROG Ally, and I am very excited for that. Expect us to produce a lot of contents and also answers to your questions in form of video. We'll also be posting videos on our TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much again for watching. This has been Gian of Gadget Pilipinas. It's already 1 a.m. and I think I have to hit the sack, play a bit more games on this one and then sleep. Oh, but before I go, let me just show you this one. This is my Tomtok bag, and surprisingly, this one also fits perfectly on the Tomtok bag. And I don't know, but maybe Tomtok would consider also marketing their existing lineup for the Steam Deck for the ASUS ROG Ally. And I believe also that some manufacturers are already gearing up to produce some third-party accessories for the ROG Ally, and that's a good thing. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching again. This has been Gian of Gadget Pilipinas. See you in the next video. Bye.